Thank you so much for joining us on the Dwelling Show. I'm your host, Ola Dantes. I've got the amazing Ryan Chaw with us today. Hey, Ryan, how's it going? How you doing?
How's it going? It's good, Ola. I'm excited to be on the show.
Awesome, 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 awesome. So Ryan, I mean, we've obviously talked a little bit. You're obviously a listener of the show as well. So it's always nice to bring people on the show. I honestly do think sometimes there's anybody listening. So it's always nice to kind of hear that you're an avid listener yourself. So I'm sure you can do a way better job than I can. Can you kind of just tell our listeners a little bit more about who you are, what you've been doing, and kind of what you're up to lately?
Yeah, so I was first inspired to get into real estate from my grandpa, actually. He bought three properties in the Bay Area and the San Francisco Bay Area. And we saw a lot of appreciation in those properties, and of course, rents went up. So the rent he was making from those properties was able to pay for all of his expenses until his ripe old age of, he lived until 93 and a half. So I realized that this is one of the best ways to create generational wealth. Not only was he able to help pay for his expenses, but he also helped me and my brother. He paid part of our tuition in college. So I was like, wow, this is truly the way to wealth building. So, in 2015, I graduated as a pharmacist with a doctorate of pharmacy degree. I started working and I wanted to get into real estate as soon as possible. So I worked a lot overtime. I was able to save up for a down payment on the first house in 2016. And so I purchased that, a single family property, 3 bed, 2 bath, and it was in Stockton, California. And that's just where the numbers made sense. I actually live in Sacramento, and I was able to drive an hour or so and find a property much cheaper where the numbers make sense, because California in general is very expensive. After that, I bought one property per year, and now 4 years later I have four single family homes, and it's making me $10,755 per month in rental income.
So I'm just writing a bunch down. That's really fascinating. You said a lot of
Yeah.
interesting things, right? And when I speak to folks and kind of the society thinks of wealth as what we see on Instagram, right? A
Yeah.
guy driving in a fancy Ferrari with a blonde chick, blue eyes, and he's got money stacked
Yeah.
up to his ears, and that's what people think wealth looks like. They don't think Bill Gates, they don't think Zuck, they don't think all these folks, they don't even think Jeff Bezos, even though we use Amazon every single day. They think of this
Right.
gold chain wearing, loud guy. Or maybe I'm
That's the
wrong.
image.
Yeah, 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 as the image of wealth. But I don't think about your grandpa, right, that lived, to
Yeah.
93, paid for you and your brother's college. I don't know what happened to that property, maybe even passed it on, right? That is
Yeah.
legacy. That is wealth transfer, right? And that could be like one or two properties, right? So I just love the fact that you brought that up, and I kind of want to just dig into that a little bit more, right? So
Yeah, exactly. It's like building a legacy.
yeah, yeah, but you got this doctorate in as a pharmacist, right? So you
Mhm.
relatively high paying job. Why bother to even go do this real estate stuff, right?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I love working in pharmacy, and that's why I got into it, is to because I was always like providing a service for others, and that's what I always wanted to do, as part of, a fulfilling life, basically, to give back to the community and all that. But I also saw a lot of these older pharmacists, they're like 50, like late 50s, 60s, and they're like, burnt out. They're ready to retire, but they can't because, they kind of have an inflated lifestyle a little bit, maybe, or, they just can't because they need the health care benefits and everything. So they get trapped, basically, and their attitude toward working is, not as great. I just didn't feel like I would be that type of person who would work until I'm 65 and be super happy working the same job until 65, right? So that's why I got into real estate. It was really that draw of financial freedom, the ability to do what you want, where you want, when you want, with whomever you want to do it with, right? And basically live life on your own terms. And
Oh
so that's
man.
what got me into real estate.
Yeah, that is so. I love it. I love everything you're saying. It's so exciting. And one of the
It
big,
is.
yeah, one of the big things you said is you kind of projected into the future, right? Like, hey, okay, I'm this young pharmacist. I can basically buy a nice car, buy a big house in California, do all this
Mhm.
stuff, but 30 years later, I'm gonna be like this guy right next to me who is now 50 or whatever, and he's not loving this, so I don't want to be this guy. So you're actually paying attention, right? I mean, this is like
Yeah.
almost basic stuff, right? But if we don't talk about it at a prescriptive level, no pun intended, like people just maybe are not thinking about this stuff, but you clearly were doing that. Obviously your grandpa helped you do that. So I think that's really,
Yeah.
yeah, that's really fascinating. I'm so excited for your story, actually. So the other thing people say is there are no deals in California. Like California doesn't make sense. People are like investing out of state, but you were able to
Yeah.
find this little niche. Can you kind of talk us through that and how you're finding this deal to
Yeah,
find?
exactly. Yeah, so I have a little bit of a niche, and that's how I'm able to actually make a lot of profit on these rentals. The San Francisco Bay Area, to just give you an example, this area, the median home price is 900,000. So it's like it's out of reach, right? It's really out of reach, and so that's why I looked around my area, and an hour away is Stockton, California, and the houses are like 300,000. So the prices make a lot more sense. I can get cash flow versus if I bought like a $900,000 house, I'd be stuck with that house, paying it off for many, many years. But Stockton, I'm able to basically reinvest the cash flow every time and purchase one a year. What I did was I rented out per bedroom. So I doubled my profit on the house. So like my latest house, the fourth house that I bought, if you go to rentometer.com, the house was supposed to be rented out for around 1,500 as market rent. 1,400, 1,500. But I was actually able to get 3,100 because I rent out per bedroom, and I create extra bedrooms where I can and I rent out to college students in the local college towns, because for the college students, it's a lot cheaper to rent a bedroom versus rent on campus dormitories, because on campus dormitories, they charge like $1,000 to $1,200 a month, versus my place, I only charge $600 a month. So, or anywhere from $600 to $700 a month. And so it's a lot more cheaper. It's cheaper for them. They have a lot more privacy. They're just as close to campus because I buy houses that are less than 5-minute walk away. And it just makes a lot of sense for them. And so there's this huge market for living off campus in bedrooms, renting out by the bedroom. And so
I love
that's
that.
why, I took that as an opportunity, and I just repeated that model, right?
So you found something that worked, and you're trying to 10x that. I really love that. And not only did you
Yeah,
carve out like a niche, right? Like you're kind of doing like an hybrid of, it's not like an house hacking situation, but you're basically multi-family lies a single family. I don't know if that's the word.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
You're turning
yeah.
a single family into like a
Yeah.
multi-unit, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Thing.
And then
Yeah.
not only are you doing that, like kind of stacking that strategy, you're like, wait, I'm not gonna go for the professional guy because the professional guy might not really appreciate living with other people, but the college student, they want to live together. They love the sense of community, right? It's kind of like a
Yeah.
co-living situation. And now you're like doubling your cash flow. Now you're
Exactly.
busting through this myth of there are no deals in California, right? So that's really fascinating, and congrats on that. If you don't mind, just kind
Thank
of
you.
talk us through. Yeah, you're welcome. Like, kind of just talk us through like what you're looking to do, kind of like in the next few years. Now that you have this strategy down to a T, are you looking to go development, multifamily, stay within this niche? What are your thoughts?
You know, my thought was always, once you find something that works, just repeat it. And then after, you built up a large portfolio or you built up that wealth, then that's when you can start diversifying. But for right now, I would say I'm actually tempted to just pay them off. And I can actually do this in about 4 years because of the cash flow I'm making there, and then my W-2 income as well. And because I've been doing this for a long time and been able to, build up that wealth. So I would actually be able to retire at 31 years old if I were if I wanted to do this, if I wanted to just pay them off. So, imagine just retiring at 31 and having $10,755 per month just coming in. And so, for me, it was always like kind of a pipe dream. But then the numbers, when I look at the numbers, it's actually a reality now. And that's kind of one thing I wanted to mention. Like for a lot of people, real estate, a lot of newbie real estate investors, it's pretty intimidating getting into real estate. But as long as you have like the system or a strategy and maybe have someone help show that strategy to you, it's not complicated. It's actually very simple. It's not going to be easy, but it's not going to be complicated, right? Because it's very simple what I did, right?
You're giving away all the secrets, Ryan. You're giving away all your secrets, right?
There is no, yeah, it's no secret.
Thank you so much for sharing that. So I wasn't expecting that. So there's that debate of, I think Grant Cardone is kind of on the other end of the spectrum.
Yes,
Like,
definitely.
don't buy a single family house, don't own, nothing, just rent. But you're basically saying, I'm going to use most of my income and all of the cash flow. I'm just going to kind of pour it back in the assets so I can pay it off. And at 31, I actually own my life, which it's just impressive. So kudos to you on
Yeah,
doing that.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
for
So what
me,
are your,
like, yeah,
no,
sorry.
sorry,
Oh,
no,
yeah. So
sorry.
I was just gonna make the point for Grant Cardone. For me, it didn't make sense to try to get into apartments and multifamily and go into syndication because I didn't even do my first property. So how am I going to make profit work on a multifamily and these apartments when I can't, when I haven't done it before with a single family house? So, I mean, even Grant Cardone says in his book, he started with a single family home. That's where he made his mistakes. Imagine making mistakes on an apartment, right, where you're highly leveraged versus making mistakes on just a single family home. Obviously, you could lose a lot more money just going straight into multifamily or apartment buildings. So that's why for me it was a lot more reachable, attainable. Just by doubling my profit on these single family homes, I was able to scale that.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I guess I want to get your opinion on, I always ask a lot of guests this as well. You've got a great job, a decent job, on American standards, it's a pretty good
Hmm.
job. And people say, well, why don't you just, burn the boats and go hard, right? What are your thoughts on that? Now that you've got your good job and you're getting a decent cash flow, I mean, you potentially could quit your job if you wanted to. But why are you not doing that?
Yeah, so it's all about risk assessment. I never recommend burn the bridges and just go straight into something, especially if you have never done real estate before, because it makes a lot more sense to be making an income from your job to be able to get pretty good funding. Because a lot of the lenders out there, they look for consistent income coming in, and you're going to get a lot better terms if you do this on the side. So to give you background, I worked a full-time job as a pharmacist for the last 4 years. 40 hours. Sometimes I worked overtime, and I was able to do this on the side because I kind of had this system that I created. And yeah, it just made sense for me not to just jump off the boat and just go full time into it. It really depends also on what kind of investor you are. There are people who are active investors who on the side to make income, they flip houses or do wholesaling, right? And then they use that cash to do buy and investing. But for me, I'm a passive investor. I don't want to spend this time on this as a full-time job. I want to have my normal job or the normal 9 to 5, and then do this on the side. And when this builds up, and enough income is coming from this, then that's when I'm cool with quitting the W-2 job if I wanted to.
Right, and yeah, I wish I can get into your brain, or I wish I can fast forward to, 5 years to see what you're actually going to do. Are you actually going to retire at 31, or are you just going to keep going? It's going to be fascinating to see what you're going to be doing at that time. It's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah,
Um,
we'll see. I have the choice, right? I have that, that opportunity or that choice because I freed it up for myself. And yeah, I mean, I probably will at least work reduced hours around then. And then, we'll see where I go from there because I now have a 6-figure income coming in passively. And so maybe I will start going into apartments and all of that, right?
Nice. So if somebody is listening to this and they're like, "Oh my God, like I'm somehow similar to Ryan. Maybe I'm in the Silicon Valley area, or the Bay Area, Sacramento, close to where you are, and I've got a really pretty good job. I'm not a pharmacist, but I'm damn close to earning similar amount, and I'm young. I'm in my
Hmm.
20s. I want to do the same thing. What would you say to that
Hmm.
person?
Yeah, that's a great question because a lot of people, like I said, they're intimidated by buying their first property and taking that first step, right? Um, I would say first, actually find someone who's done it before and get in touch with them and find a mentor. Then they can walk you through basically 5 steps. And I'm just going to go through my 5-step strategy. Um, so, step one is making sure the profit makes sense. So, that means you have to calculate, do your deal analysis, and run the numbers and figure out if you're making cash flow on the property, right? So you have to add up like what's your principal, interest, property tax, insurance, management costs, maintenance costs, and then like if there's vacancies. And so you have to run those numbers first. And of course, there's people out there who can help you do that. If you contact me, I could definitely help you through that. And then it comes negotiating the deal. So you have to kind of understand what's motivating the seller, right? Because if you can help them achieve their goals, then they'll also help you, maybe lower the price on the house, or they'll kind of give you concessions for things that you would like to get done, like repairs that need to be made. The next part is doing renovation. And then like renovation for me is creating extra bedrooms where I can to create, because every extra bedroom is like an extra $600 in rental income, right? So that to me, it makes a lot of sense to do this, to create one extra bedroom or turn a living room into a bedroom so that I get an extra $600 per month coming in. And then preventative maintenance is also important. And this is where you like do some steps or take some steps to basically reduce the expenses, the future expenses on the property. So one example would be taking out grass and putting in bark, right? Because now the water bill is a lot lower because you don't have to water the grass. Also, trimming tree branches because squirrels and rats can climb the branches and get into your house and cause pest control issues. Also, the leaves could get onto your roof, right? And then clog the gutters, and then water builds up and could cause water damage like mold and fungus and all that, right? So doing those preventative maintenance steps will really save you a lot of money down the line. Like for example, actually for me, I had a sewage line breakdown on me because I didn't do a sewage line inspection during escrow phase, which is only a couple $100 to do. To stick, what you do is you stick a camera down the sewage line and see if there's any breaks in it. But I didn't do that. So like a year later, I get this call from a tenant saying, "Dude, there's all this sewage coming out of the sink and onto the kitchen floor, and it smells like really bad." So it was like all over the kitchen floor. It leaked into the basement as well. So I was like calling these, plumbers, and it was like 11 p.m. at night, right? So it was an emergency. And so I finally found someone to clean it up, sanitize it, and then figure out what's going on with the sewage. And it cost me $9,000 to do everything, replace the pipe with PVC piping and sanitizing, putting in a sump pump. It was just a lot of work that was unnecessary if I did, the proper due diligence, right, during escrow phase. The fourth step is having a system for marketing and consistently finding high quality tenants, right? Because a tenant could make or break the property. If they're not paying rent and you have to evict them, well, there goes several months worth of, profit, right? Or rental income, basically, right? So that's very important. And then the last step is, of course, having a system for maintaining the property and managing the tenants, and then automating the whole process so that you can, do this while you're working your 9 to 5 job. So that's the 5 steps. It's very, I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's actually pretty simple. There's only 5 steps.
Wow, thank you so much, Ryan. I mean, that's right. That's a course right there. You've just given away all this good stuff. Thank you so much. And if there's anyone listening close to Ryan there or anywhere in the country and want to do the same thing in your market, thanks, Ryan, for kind of sharing that. You'd help folks with that. So feel free to reach out to Ryan. I wish I could keep talking to you, but we definitely dwelling into the quick rounds. These are going to be quick
Mhm.
questions, quick answers. You ready, sir?
Yes, let's do
All
it.
right. First question. What makes you, Ryan, unique? What is that differentiating factor that separates you from the next guy or the next girl?
Good question. Yeah, I would say it's definitely the niche, the student housing market, how I'm able to actually market, and find those high quality tenants and put maybe a couple, like maybe 5 or 6 students in one house.
Cool. What was the last book that you read? And what was the one thing that you picked up from that book?
Ooh, I would say Miracle Morning, about Hal Elrod. It kind of goes over like steps you take in the morning to maximize your productivity throughout the day. And I would highly recommend it for any of the listeners today.
Yeah, great book. Last question. You've got your properties, you're growing, you've got tenant issues, and I'm glad you brought that up. Nobody talks about all the bad stuff. So you've got your 9 to 5, which is a big job, as a pharmacist, especially right now with everything going on in the world. Um, what do you do for fun?
That's a great question. Yeah, so I'm a violinist, so I play violin, and I try to bring out new pieces. I actually like playing movie themes, so I do that for fun. I actually also do some martial arts on the side, which is really cool. And so yeah, I just kind of do those things for fun.
Awesome. Ryan, you're a legend. Thank you so much. If there's anybody listening and thinking, man, I want to get connected with Ryan, know him a little bit more, what's the best place people can reach out, connect with you?
Yeah, so for the listeners who want to reach out to me, and I actually if you sign up for my email list, you'll get this really great PDF that goes through my unique strategy for student housing. And you can contact me at www.newbierealestateinvesting.com. That's www.newbierealestateinvesting.com. And newbie is spelled Newbie.
Awesome. Ryan, thank you. Really appreciate you being on the show.
Yeah, thank you all. Thank you, guys.